Today on Hispanic Agenda, some good news regarding Latinos and education, but also some challenges. Plus, could legalizing pot and prostitution be Puerto Rico's answer to its current debt crisis? That and more today on Hispanic Agenda. Hello and welcome to Hispanic Agenda, Washington's only bilingual news program. I'm Alejandro Negron. Thank you for watching. On today's Hispanic Agenda, as the world mourns the death of the man many consider the most popular Spanish language writer since Cervantes, our roundtable looks back at the legacy of Colombia's Gabriel Garcia Marquez. But first, 25% of all public school students in America are Latino. And though there is encouraging news regarding Hispanics and education, challenges still remain. Telemundo Washington's Christian Benavides is here with our top story.
Thanks, Alejandro. A recent article points out that there's a lack of awareness when it comes to scholarships for minorities, among other issues that still face our community. Aside from that, however, Latinos have made huge strides in the last decade.
Education for Latinos is improving, but we still have work to do. For the first time in history, Hispanic college enrollment surpassed that of their white counterpart. 69% of graduates from 2012 have enrolled in higher education for that fall. This in comparison to 67% of Anglo students. In a little over 10 years, the nation was able to cut the dropout rate in half to 14% in 2011. Still, only 15% of Latinos between the ages of 25 and 29 have a college degree. For parents of minority students, it's purely economics. The fear is the cost of education. An NBC News article points out that there's a lack of awareness when it comes to scholarships for minorities. Another concern stems from the number of Latino men actually graduating from college. The number of women over men is significantly higher. Only 2% of male teachers are Latinos. Statistics like those are the ones that trouble education activists. They fear that this discrepancy reflects in the classrooms. Because of that, President Obama has started initiatives like My Brother's Keeper so that different community organizations can help young minorities get through high school and go on to college.
I
think it's the first time a president is really raising awareness, specifically about young Latinos and African Americans.
But every day, the chance of success gets slimmer and slimmer. This week, the Supreme Court upheld a ban on affirmative action in the state of Michigan, which allows universities to take into account race in college applications in order to create diversity.
Now, it's important to point out that some Republican governors have taken this matter into their own hands, funding more early childhood education programs, making this a bipartisan issue.
Now, Christian, in your report, we learned that 69% of Latinos have enrolled for higher education versus 65% of whites. What's behind the increase in college enrollment for Latinos? What seems to be working?
I think it's just a higher awareness campaign for parents in particular who didn't really see the necessity for college because maybe they didn't have a college education. There's more awareness between these parents and they're passing it on to their children. Now,
you also mentioned that the dropout rate was cut in by 50% in 10 years.
By 50%.
Are we talking about only Hispanics or overall?
It's only for Latinos, which it's still quite high. It's around 13 to 15%, but it's huge. I mean, if you think about it, it's double that in a decade. It's just more kids.
What's behind that increase in kids deciding to stay in high school?
I think it's just kids seeing that there's a brighter future ahead. Also, you know, we see things like DACA come around so people can actually go to college now. I think that's
they can envision themselves going to college. Maybe that helps. All right.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Christian Benavides, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Coming up next, what should we as parents know about educating our students? We'll hear from a group of experts. Then later, did you know that more Hispanics than whites were accepted to the University of California this year? A great topic for the roundtable when Hispanic Agenda continues. Welcome back to Hispanic Agenda. Let's discuss what we as parents should know about educating our children with some experts. Joining us today are Vicky Lake Parcan, principal of Niceville Middle School in Germantown, and Yabet Luisa Losupone, aide to the vice president and provost of the Montgomery College Germantown campus. Welcome to Hispanic Agenda. Nice to see you both.
Thank you.
All right, so let's fix this problem in less than 6 minutes. Right? How can we get more involved in our children's education? What are the best practices? What should we be doing as parents to ensure that our kids not only want to finish high school, but also end up going to college, graduating, and having a successful life? I'll start with you, Principal.
So I think the most important thing is for parents, obviously, to be involved in our schools. And sometimes that's a difference from maybe what they experienced in other school systems, but here we want parents to be engaged, to come to events. We invite parents to come out for different activities to not only celebrate their children, but just information that we want to share about what goes on at the school, what a school looks like, what classes look like. And so it's important for parents to come out. And sometimes we struggle getting enough parent engagement the way we'd want to, so that they have that understanding of what's going on.
So you would say that's the most important thing, parent engagement. That's the best way to predict if a child is going to do well.
Well, if the parents know what's going on with the school, they can be there when they go home to make sure that they're completing their assignments, that they're studying, that they have all the materials they need. So it is important that they're aware of how they're performing, their achievement in classes, so they can support them when they need it, before the problem becomes so big that they feel like, what can I do now?
Sure. Javed, what's your opinion on this? What's our biggest challenge or challenges?
Well, I definitely agree. I have an intimate relationship with the achievement gap. I was a student that I was very lucky in that I had a home where the value of education was instilled in me from a very young age, and I think that is really key in terms of like what Vicky is saying. I think there's a lack of familiarity with the college process. We're not instilling from a very young age how important receiving post-secondary education is, but when the parents aren't home, that's where things really start to fall apart.
But isn't also that many of these parents didn't go to college, don't have the college experience, therefore they can't express that at home.
That's exactly it. This is really a problem that's occurring more in lower socioeconomic levels.
Sure.
And so what ends up happening is you have students that, yes, are in socioeconomic lower levels, right? But then you have parents that don't have the own personal experience, maybe didn't have that value instilled in them. They're not familiar with the process at all, so they don't even know where to begin and don't recognize that the process does not begin in high school. It doesn't begin in middle school. It begins the moment that child is born, reading to that kid, spending time with that kid, helping create learning moments in every moment.
Absolutely. And I was reading somewhere that the best predictor to know how a child is going to do in school is their parents' level of education. And when we look at Hispanics, for example, Latinos, less than high school. This is mother's education level by ethnicity. Latinos, 41% have less than a high school degree of education. When you compare, for example, Asian, it's only 16%. College graduated, more than 44%. And there's a direct correlation between the success of these kids and their parents'
Absolutely,
education.
because the parents aren't necessarily aware of how important it is to have that, not just their high school education, but to make sure that they're preparing themselves, whether it's for college or the workforce, but getting an education and understanding that in our schools, they have to be a part of that in order to support their children. That it can't just be, well, we send our children to school and so everything will be fine. They have to be involved in just making sure that they're aware of how things happen, whether it's applications for special schools, magnet schools, alternative schools. So that's a process that parents really need to be involved in and talk to their children about, to make sure that the kids are thinking from an early age about how to get themselves ready for middle school, high school, and then hopefully on to college.
And this is definitely a topic that we should spend some more time on, and hopefully we get to do that. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. When Hispanic Agenda returns, Puerto Rico is facing a daunting debt crisis, for sure. But is legalizing pot and prostitution really the answer? Our roundtable is next. You don't want to miss it. Welcome back to Hispanic Agenda. Let's welcome our roundtable, ABC7's John Gonzalez, Judy Pino from the Libre Initiative, and Jose Suero from MetroDiversity.com. Welcome to Hispanic Agenda, guys. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
All right, missed you guys. All right, let's start with you, Judy Pino. So Puerto Rico is currently going through a very serious economic crisis. Now, they have a website. They're taking ideas from everyone. And two ideas. we're going to be talking about today. Legalizing prostitution and pot. Tell me about that.
Oh my goodness, Puerto Rico, la isla del encanto. What's going on with Puerto Rico? You know, this is nothing new. This deficit has been around for almost a decade now. It's $70 billion in debt the island is. And yes, these very creative ideas from the public to legalize prostitution and marijuana, that's not going to happen. I think the Puerto Rican people have said that they're not interested in that. They're opposed to that. But one of the things that should be on the table for Puerto Rico is really streamlining their government. It's very bloated. And that's something that's really, really affecting the economy. It has for about 10 years now. If they consolidate that and they reduce some holidays, and Puerto Ricans are,
and they're actually talking
party
about
people.
That. Well, the problem is, we celebrate all the Puerto Rican holidays, and we get to celebrate all the federal American government holidays.
That's right.
Yeah,
well, Puerto Rico celebrates 20. That's double what we celebrate here in the U.S. Here in the mainland.
Well, we celebrate double anyway.
But you know what? It costs them $500 million. Right. And so it's a dent.
It's funny. You said creativity. Some may think it's a creative way. I think it's almost like a lazy way of dealing with things. There is a crisis, obviously, an economic crisis in Puerto Rico. There are in a lot of nations. The government needs to step in and find a better solution. I mean, this can't be their last resort.
No, absolutely. I think when you make it easier for businesses to come in and open up shop, it creates jobs, and that's what needs to happen in Puerto Rico.
They certainly need to sustain themselves. It's sustainability. It's what it's all about. But I kind of disagree with Judy. I mean,
I'm surprised.
There's marijuana is now legal in Colorado and Washington, and prostitution is legal in Nevada. Puerto Ricans need to figure out a way to sustain themselves and, like you said, to have a more productive government, and like you said, John, and attack these issues so that they can be self-sustaining.
Well, but the people are against the prostitution and the marijuana. That's what I was getting to.
All right, let me go to John Gonzalez. So more Hispanics than whites accepted in the University of California. That's great.
For years now, Asians have taken over the University of California. 38% this last enrollment, Asian students coming in. Maybe not a huge surprise, but what maybe is a surprise is that now there's more enrolling this semester, more Latinos than whites, than Anglos. If you look at the numbers, 61,000 students enrolled in the freshman class, 28% Latino, 26% white students.
Welcome to the future.
Yeah, welcome
baby.
to the future. I mean, this is the largest state in the country, and the Latin population is growing in California. So maybe not so much of a surprise, is it? I don't know. What do you think?
25% of all Latinos in public schools at the moment are Latinos. So
I remember when I was growing up, going to elementary school here in the D.C. area, I was the only Latino. And now you look at the schools here in the area, the country's changing, obviously.
I wanted to ask you guys about what DACA, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals Act, how that has has something to do with it. Because, preparing for the previous segment, I was saying that Latinos attending college hasn't really increased much in the last 30, 40 years. But we're seeing this big increase in the last 3-4 years. There's got to be something to do with immigration.
Well,
right?
upwards of 15 universities have already agreed to let students that are not residents of the country, that are here undocumented, attend the schools at state tuition. That might have something to do with it. But yes, absolutely, it's also indicative of the demographic. I mean, you have more Hispanics living in the United States.
We are now second generation. We've arrived, and now there's a consciousness, an ethnic consciousness, but also a consciousness about competing and being in a level of excellence. And we're a bilingual population. We use language in many ways. We're a creative, entrepreneurial population, and all of that's. We agree, Judy.
Well, talking about language, talking about being creative. Let's talk about the loss of Gabriel Garcia Marquez. The world is mourning the death of this giant. Many consider him the most popular Spanish writer since Cervantes. Tell me about his legacy.
He is among the greatest authors of the 20th and the 21st century so far. From Cervantes to Garcia Marquez, there's a direct line. It is the Don Quixote of the 20th century, but it's more than that. Very, very rarely does a man have a whole movement named after his work, which is this magic realism.
Right.
Garcia Marquez was
Could you
all,
expand on that? What is the magic realism that you speak of?
Gabriel Garcia Marquez was able to create fantasies or dreams, but grounded in stories that talked about the innumerable conflicts in Latin America, in the Spanish-speaking world in general, from the contradictions and the extremes of poverty and extreme wealth and the history of Latin America. He was able to express that in very metaphorical ways. So he blended his journalism, because he was above all a journalist,
absolutely,
with this wonderful fiction that captivated a world. He was, President Santos of Colombia said he was the greatest Colombiano in the history of that country, and that might be a little bit of hyperbole, but he was a massive influence, a Nobel Prize winner, and one of the great writers of all time. In
Gabo
Spanish.
will be missed. Absolutely. All right, thank you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, don't go away. When Hispanic Agenda continues, we're joined by Franklin Garcia, a person you most definitely want to get to know. Next. Welcome back to Hispanic Agenda. We are most fortunate to be joined by Franklin Garcia, president and founder of the DC Latino Caucus. Welcome, Franklin Garcia.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you here. You are from the Dominican Republic. I love your country and I love its people.
Thank you. Thank you. Originally from the Dominican Republic, came over in 1980 and have been in DC ever since.
In 1980, how old were you when you came here?
About 10 years old.
About 10 years old.
Yeah.
Why did you, your parents decided to move to Washington, D.C.? Why choose Washington, D.C.?
That's right. Well, my mother actually came over to the domestic, to the World Bank.
Okay.
And she brought my father and my sister, and so we made D.C. our homes and never went back.
What what school did you go to when you were here?
I actually, while living in D.C., actually my parents thought that we would be better educated if we went to Montgomery County, so they actually decided to put us in Montgomery County. So I actually graduated from Montgomery Blair High School.
Montgomery Blair High School. All right, great. So tell me about the Latino Caucus. In a second, we're going to talk about you recently won the Democratic primary in D.C. For non-voting U.S. representative of the district. We want to talk about that in a little bit, but tell me about the Latino Caucus. What do you guys do? Why did you form it? How long ago did you form it? Tell me about the Latino Caucus.
Well, you know, D.C. is a very well-known city for having great nonprofits. You know, we've got some of the best national nonprofits here catering our Latino community. La Clínica del Pueblo, for example, Carlos Rosario, Gala Theater. Some of those institutions are nationally known. But what we lacked was our presence politically in the city. Since home rule back in 1973, we've never had a Latino elected either to the city council or to be a mayor. And so knowing that deficiency, a group of visionary decided to put together the DC Latino PAC back about 10 years ago. And so we've grown into the DC Latino Caucus. We are an arm of the Democratic Party. We actually have 2 city members on the Democratic Party. And I'm actually also the secretary for the Democratic Party of the city. And so we are just very excited to provide a voice to our Latino community, a political voice, so that we can actually continue the work that needs to be done to get more Latinos elected.
And how do you do that? What are some of those tactics?
Well, what we do is we engage our population in the city through the Democratic Party, and we make sure that we reach out to members of the city council. We get them to come out to the community and speak, host meetings with the community.
So you lobby for the community.
That's right. That's right. We do.
What would you say are the biggest challenges for Latinos inside the district?
Well, there's so many challenges. I mean, right now we are trying to get through one of them, which is getting our folks to have driver's license, you know, and that's actually coming through for us. May 1st, they'll be able to do that. But there are a lot of challenges for our community, from language access to being able to get adequate health. Housing, for sure, is one of the major ones where people are right now can't really afford to stay in the district and are moving to Maryland and PG County. We've got a lot of challenges in our communities. It's a growing community. We're about 10% of the population right now,
Sure.
about 70,000 strong. So, you know, a lot of challenges come with our community.
And our political power is growing as well, and our participation in the political process too. So recently, you were voted in, I mean, you won the Democratic primary to become U.S. representative. Non-voting, of course, but U.S. representative, the first Latino to ever represent the district.
That's right. It's a great honor. And, you know, this primary on April 1st, we had actually 10 Latinos run on the ballot. I mean, we had somebody from mayor who actually ran for mayor all the way down to running for the Democratic Party. And we had, of 10 people that run, 4 of us got elected. And so we can see that our work is actually paying off. So we're just very excited that we can get more Latinos to be part of the process. And really, we need to be at the table because there are a lot of issues that, you know, we're not there. You know, we no longer, we're a force right now that we no longer need to have others represent us. We can represent ourselves. There's nobody better to represent you than yourselves. And so that's where we are right now.
And you still need to win the election in November, but for what I understand, you're running unopposed, although you tell me that
That's
there
right.
is some competition?
That's right. Well, I've won the Democratic Party as nominee, and so being that this is a 70–80% Democratic city, you know, it's a given that I'll probably get elected. But I do have a challenger, and I will continue.
Got you. Thank you so much, Franklin. Pleasure to talk to you. All right, don't forget that Hispanic Agenda is Washington's only bilingual news program. Look for La Agenda en Español on Telemundo Washington, and be sure to join us again next week right here on News Channel 8. Thank you for watching, and we hope that you keep us on your agenda. We'll see you next time.